Going out to Emery. Emery, welcome to the program.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
So we're having trouble understanding how these tweets could be helpful.
Please explain. Please.
They're so divisive. People get so upset by them. Well, how could they be useful?
It all depends on how you look at it. You know, you've got to look at the point that this president, since he's been elected, has been the victim of a lot of media criticism. He's been the victim of a lot of negative publicity. And because of that, he's tried to get his message out through the media, but it's been very, very impossible. So therefore, he turned to his Twitter account and began explaining what he's doing and what he's trying to do to the American public. And a lot of the messages of what he's doing and what he's trying to do wouldn't be possible except for his tweets. A lot of the tweets have been misrepresented, and a lot of them have also been blown out of proportion. And then, of course, there have been some controversial tweets, and a lot of times the president has tweeted things that have been a little bit not in the form or fashion of a politician. However,
really,
those who, but he's not a professional politician, so you got to realize that he's going to speak his mind, and he's speaking those things that his supporters want to hear because they don't get to hear those things in the mainstream media.
But don't you think? Can't you really concede that sometimes he goes off the rail a bit?
Let's talk about this example, the most recent one, where he's mocking LeBron James and Don Lemon, the CNN newscaster who's interviewing him, by basically calling them both stupid. What does he gain from that tweet in particular?
Well, I can't speak for the president, as far as trying to explain what he may gain or may not gain from it. But
how does it help the country? Why is it helpful?
Well, okay. How does it help the country, on the other hand, when LeBron James or Don Lemon or any of the other...
But they're not leader of the country.
But that doesn't... The president, just because he's the leader of the country, doesn't excuse him from the fact that he can defend himself or that he can answer his critics. See, that's one of the things that we don't take into consideration.
No, I understand that. I understand that's how he uses Twitter. But in this case, there was no outward criticism made toward him that he was responding to.
Yeah, he was. LeBron had said some nasty stuff. And
he said there was negative criticism.
Okay, but he wasn't, trying to defend himself about a specific item that he was criticized on, is my point. I mean, he was just kind of being mean and divisive.
Which, again, I think that if it was one of us, we put ourselves in the place of the president. When someone attacks you verbally or in a written form on Twitter or on the air, on television, on the news, the first reaction is to come back strong. And again, because the president is not the typical politician who can talk, in a suave manner, he sometimes expresses himself off the cuff. He says things that a lot of us, don't particularly like the way he says them, but he says them in such a way because he's talking as one of us. So I think that his tweets are very helpful in that he gets to explain to us from his point of view what he's trying to get across. A lot of times, like I said, it's not as suave as it should be, but we have to realize that he has the right to come back and defend himself just like any one of us would. And a lot of times we would also respond maybe in anger. We may respond in a polite way, but at least we are able to use that format to get our point of view across.
I get what you're saying here, but here's the difference. He's the president of the United States. He has the widest, most far-reaching forum of anyone in the free world.
Let me pile onto what you're saying a little bit, because that's my issue. Is that I know people like South Park did a whole thing on this. He calls it like he sees it. He talks like me. I like that. He's not a politician. He's clearing the swamp. I get that appeal. I get that. Number one. Number two, he uses tweets in a very, as you said, unorthodox and unanticipated way, and he's had. He threatens world leaders and stuff, and I understand what he's doing when he does that. He's a negotiator. He takes things way over another direction in order to bring them back where he wants them. And that's where we see it expressed, is online. But when it comes to stuff that is really so hurtful, this really bothers me. I had an emotional reaction to this LeBron James things that I normally don't have. And like I've said before on this show, it's like, here's a guy I want to welcome to my community. He's doing good services. I don't want the leader of the country to bash that guy. And by the way, using a bludgeon that has been hurtful to African Americans for God knows how long. that's been used against them, and why? Why do that? You understand where I'm at, Emery?
Yes, I do, and I hold the sentiments, the same sentiments, but the problem of it is we have to realize too that LeBron James and others, they also hold high positions and they also have a large audience. I talk to kids and they listen to this stuff and they don't want to hear the other side because they're brainwashed or they are in tune with what he's saying because he's their hero. And on the other side, we have the Trump people and the Trump supporters that are saying the same thing. We must come together in this nation if we are to continue to grow.
Yes.
We've got to tone down the rhetoric.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Yes.
100%.
And I wish, and just the way, I don't know, we're all sort of wishing that, I wish that there'd be rhetoric coming from the top. That I was glad to see his wife and his daughter push back. I mean, maybe they'll be the emotionally unifying sort of force. I don't know, but I'm looking for it from him. And he's just so used to fighting and punching. Our friend Scaramucci taught me this, that he just fights. And and even Scaramucci as a fighter says, don't do that, Donald. Don't do that. It's not helping. Got to calm down. And so I'm just hoping we get to that point because I don't think it's helping our souls as a country. Do you remember? Concede that for me. No? Oh, did I lose you? Emery?
Yes.
There you are. Oh. Can you concede at least that it's not good for our collective soul here in this country?
Yeah. I agree that some of the comments may be a little over the top and so forth. However, I also see the other point that we would not be able to learn things as most of the people that have contacted me through emails, through my social media, is that we can hear it from the horse's mouth. We're not going to hear the good things that he's done through the media. We're not going to hear anything positive that he's done through these celebrities because they hate him. And there's no reason whatsoever for that. I run into people every day. They have no idea what he stands for, what his administration is trying to do, but yet they hate him and they bash him, and they do so also on social media. And if I was the president and people did me like that, I would come back in a way that would swing back. But I think that I would choose my words more carefully because I'm the type of person that, I would want to see people come to my side through persuasive advice rather than to controversy, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. I'm with you on that. And I think it'd be better for us. I understand that it's the same guy that uses this same technique in other areas where he has success. I'm just not sure it's good for us. But let me go to some calls if you don't mind. David, do you want to make a comment?
Hello?
David.
Yes, okay. A couple questions and points I wanted to make. I grew up as a baby boomer black man, so this thing about attacking intelligence, I constantly had to deal with. A lot of times I was only black at the classes I was in high school as far as academics, and then in college again running into, are you smart enough to be here? We had it with the black quarterbacks. They're not smart enough to be a quarterback concept. So this idea of him attacking intelligence for black people, that's an old concept. And it just hurts that he's bringing it back.
I agree.
Or that it really never left.
Right.
Well, no, it's who knows? I mean, maybe it's his ignorance of the fact that it's been so hurtful. That's what I'm hoping. But but it's still nonetheless very hurtful.
The other concept
I understand.
David, finish.
Is that I was told a long time ago, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And the concept of the difference between a racist and a racial comment, you look at the overall behavior of that person. And those are the kind of things that I think some people need to look at. I agree with you that every time someone says something, that doesn't make them a racist. But when you look at their history, you can say that he's shown very racist tendencies in regards to black people, for sure.
All right, David. I'm going to let Emery. I'm letting Emery respond. But thank you for your comment. Go ahead, Emery.
Yeah, I listened to the caller, and I really appreciate the comments that the caller has made. And there are some concerns. People have been told that the president is racist, but if you look at the things that have happened over the course of the 2 years that he's been in office, it would be hard to, a person would be hard pressed to continue on with those type of comments, because it looks like the president very seriously is involved with helping every American. And I brought that out in the article that I wrote. The president has sat down with black leaders, black preachers. He sat down with different councils of black people, asked for ideas. He's done a whole lot in the housing market. He's done a whole lot in the unemployment. He's talked about abortion in the black community. He's sat down with all these different leaders. He's invited leaders from both sides. A lot of the leaders from the other side have not accepted his invitation. They've criticized, but I think that what we need to do is tone down, once again, I agree with you, the rhetoric, and sit down with one another and say, hey, what can we do to get around all this and quit taking swipes at each other? And this is what we're going to have to learn how to do. And I think the president does this because he considers himself defending himself. He considers himself trying to get the message out that his supporters want to hear. So we're going to have to it's going to take more than just talking about this. It's going to take
and I think it should start with the president.
Well, I have an idea.
It's going to take this cabinet talking to him.
Emery, I just thought of something. And maybe you're the man to deliver this. One of the things Mr. Trump offered up that I thought would be extremely useful for the African American community is he was going to pardon something like 1,000 or 2,000 prisoners who perhaps shouldn't be in prison for the length of time they're in. Why have people not offered up potential candidates? Let's go to work on that. Let's get prison reform is a big thing, and this could sort of begin that dialogue, perhaps in a way that would be positive. Oh, we lost him. He's out here. As I was giving him a manifesto.
He's not interested in what you have to say.
Oh, damn. I think Emery's may be the guy. But anyway, I just wish he made an offer and asked for a recommendation, then nobody came with anything. That's a mistake. That's a missed opportunity to get going on prison reform by first pardoning the people that shouldn't be in prison for nonsense sorts of, Here's McClendon, Emery. Okay. Emery, you there? Emery?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Do you hear what I said? I said you're the person maybe to send up some recommendations for pardons because he's offered to look at that, and let's go do that. Let's start with prison reform. Let's go, get because he seemed to be very liberal with his pardons. So come on, let's go get that going. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think he's looking into that. The administration is looking into that.
Well, somebody's got to make those recommendations. We need somebody really spearheading that.
Right. Our organization, Project 21, they've got some positions on that.
All right.
And I think that there's going to be some things come down in the near future.
All right.
I'm not, since I'm not working in the prison system or in the correctional system, I don't know exactly who all these people are that may be pardoned. But I agree that the president is working, and he's working trying to find solutions on that and get some of these people that have been wrongly convicted and so forth out of prison.
Emery, I'm going to have to wrap it up. Where can we find you? Website or Twitter?
I'm on Twitter, and I'm also on Facebook, and I'm also on the Speakers Bureau for Tea Party Patriots, and I also do a lot of work in blogging and writing for Project 21.
All right, Emery. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for having me on.
You got it. Emery McClendon. And there's two differing opinions about Mr. Trump and his tweets.